Quite exciting, and the amazing thing is the amount of all these crazy instruments on stage. And
are you playing on your old vintage synthesizer?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have 60
I wanna ask about
60 vintage synthesizers on stage. It's an amazing experience for us.
Because I want to ask you a bit about. I want to know that.
Yeah, sure.
And also, is it okay to if I want to ask you a bit about your relation and your influences of your father as well?
No problem. No problem.
No.
You can ask any questions.
Is he still alive, your father?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, so he's quite healthy and alive.
He's working still?
Yes, working. He's a bit fed up about writing soundtracks these days.
Okay.
So he's doing more concerts.
Okay. I knew that he was a dear friend of Peter Weir and did all his...
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Fantastic music for Witness, for example, when they're building the barn.
Yeah,
Great.
Absolutely, yes.
And this classic, the French thriller with Simon Signoret, the one... didn't he do the old this with Simon Signoret when they kill off the heart-sick mother? The wife, the mistress.
That is me.
That is you.
Yes.
You did.
Yes, Les Granges Brûlées.
Is it so? Yeah.
Yeah, with Alain Delon and Simone Signoret. This is me.
That's you.
This is, sometimes there is slight confusion between father and son.
Well, that's okay. Okay, we start. So I can tell you, we're going to do first. We're going to use for tonight the news 7 o'clock. Perfect.
Yeah.
The short one, and then I will cut a long version for Sweden's biggest morning show on Sundays. You're going to do like a 6 minutes.
Great. So I'm ready for Sundays and Saturdays. And
Friday nights.
Friday nights.
We're running. Yes. Well, Jean Michel, how come that you wanted to tour again with Oxygen? I know it's 30 years, but what's any other specific?
Yeah, I think that this idea came along because Oxygen is a very special piece of music because it has been done with very special instruments. And I had no particular plans to release a new version, but I always said to myself at one stage, I would like to one day to record the piece that I actually originally recorded in an old kitchen the first ever home studio in my apartment in Paris at that time, with quite fairly old 8 tracks analog tape recorder. One day I would like to redo it, and with the explosion of high definition for television and for audio, I said that could be the time, and that was 5 years ago. And then because of this 30th anniversary, I said, yeah, it could be interesting to do it. And I put all the original vintage instruments back in the studio. And to tell you the truth, I've been absolutely seduced and amazed by the sound, the warmth that we have all forgotten. And I said, it could be interesting to go on stage with those instruments because I never did that before, and nobody has done that because these instruments, just stopped being produced at the beginning of the 80s because of the explosion of computers, and it was like listening my music to the first time, because actually when I first did Oxygen, I obviously recorded everything by myself, slice by slice, track by track. And now, because I had 8 tracks, I needed 8 hands, so we are 4 on stage. And to be able to listen to the music with the original instruments on stage is a quite poetic, surrealistic, and very organic, sensual experience that I'm really happy to share in a more proximity situation, because I've done lots of outdoor shows in my life so far, but I really wanted to focus on the music and on the idea of sharing that very specific experience with music, with those instruments, with some surprises also on a visual point of view as well.
I think it's interesting thematically, the album, because of this kind of a dying planet. You can, if you want, pick up the album there. Sure. Yeah, it's kind of a dying planet.
Yeah,
that you
the skull inside the globe and the title. used to be, and actually we on the new version we did a digital version of the graphics where you can go inside the skull. Yeah. It's quite interesting.
But you
during the show.
You were like 30 years ahead in the things that we all talk about today. So it's timeless in a way and more actual than ever.
Yes, I think this graphic and the theme, the inspiration of it. Were not that many 30 years ago to be concerned by the future of the planet, and it's also another reason of releasing this new version is also based on the fact that we are much more today on the planet to be concerned by and worry in a sense by the future of the planet. That could be a kind of Al Gore's logo in a sense. Yeah. And the inspiration of the music was and is really linked to the biosphere. Lots of people attach or created a link with electronic music with sci-fi. I never perceived my music linked as much as that with science fiction, but more, or stratosphere, but more to the biosphere, to the immediate environment around us. Yeah. But it was also talking about this inspiration where your country, Sweden, has been really ahead of its time. I mean, 30 years ago already, in Sweden, you had a fairly precise perception of how we should take care of the planet. And in a sense, it's the reason why I'm so happy also to play this piece of music in Stockholm, because it's going back to square one and where everything started really for the planet.
It's great, really. Could you ever imagine that Oxygen would be such a hit worldwide when you did your project?
No, you can never make any kind of predictions, or otherwise you will succeed for any projects you do in a lifetime. But and on top of it, it was also not the trend of the year. It was right in the middle of the disco time and punk period. It was really like a UFO, really. Yeah. And but also something totally different that was absolutely the reverse of the preconceived idea that electronic music should be cold or dehumanized or robotic. It's a piece of music that is quite organic and sensual, and it's coming certainly by the instruments. Those instruments are the equivalent of the Stradivarius in classical music. They are absolutely part of the mythology of electronic music. If I'm here discussing with you today in Stockholm, it's because you have these crazy designers who have designed these fantastic instruments that are absolutely unique, and I'm sure that they are going to come back like Les Paul Gibson or Fender Stratocaster or like a Stradivarius or a Steinway. They are the equivalent in electronic music.
How do you dare to take your instruments out on tour? Aren't they very delicate, these analog synthesizers and a mellotron?
Yes, they are. It's what I'm saying at the beginning of the concert. They are like old ladies. You have to very take care of them and tune them, and it's it's quite fun as well, because in days where everything is pre-organized, where we want to pre-produce everything, almost all concerts you have Pro Tools or computers on stage. Sometimes pre-mixed, even playbacks. And in this situation, we are absolutely live. We have no computers on stage. It's a real plug-and-play experience where actually anything can happen. We can have accidents. Something can go wrong. And it happened already.
One of the buttons, maybe?
Yes, it happened already. And it creates also a kind of complicity with the audience in days where we are used to have things so perfect. I mean, being able to deliver things that are not necessarily perfect, that are like in our lifetime, where sometimes in our day-to-day life, or sometimes something is not working properly. But it creates something else. And that unknown area, dark or obscure area, is creating kind of fun and excitement in a sense.
I wonder, of course you love your analog synthesizers, but how do you look upon the modern, because I know you think ahead as well, about the modern digital synths?
I love the digital world, and I love the digital technology and even what's going to happen in the future. But I think, in music and in art forms, the tools are not necessarily linked to the progress. I mean, Chinese instruments from 2,000 years ago can compete with the Mac. You know, it's a different different way of thinking and doing music, and those instruments have a definite specific charm, and specific warmth. And it doesn't mean that it's better or worse than digital, but it's not at all by nostalgia. It's more being a kind of modern way of thinking by saying, okay, in the past, like in cinema or video, you have things that we have forgotten that are very interesting, and even particularly if we mix that with modern technology, and it's this hybrid type of approach is very exciting.
Yeah, and also, how would you think one should listen to Oxygene, on the vinyl or on the CD? It's a warmer sound on the vinyl.
The vinyl, definitely the vinyl, and it's the reason why that I've released also a vinyl version of it. But you know, these days with digital technology, the recording of the new Oxygene is far better than the vinyl, because it took us probably 25 years to at last getting with digital something better than analog. And it's going to happen also for the visual, because we are, with the high definition, we feel that we can compete and even soon go being better than 35mm cinema and film. And it's the reason why that this CD and DVD has been filmed also in high definition, and also there is a special 3D version, stereoscopic 3D version, where you are wearing glasses for the DVD, but it's also available for cinema without any glasses. And actually, it's an all new way also of enjoying cinema. Spielberg and James Cameron are doing their next movie in 3D, and in music. I actually have been the first one to release a live version in 3D, and now U2 is releasing their movie also in 3D. So it's coming on.
Yeah. Your influences in music when you create, I can hear in some parts on this album, I listen again, that you listen to Walter Carlos, of course, now Wendy Carlos.
Yes.
Isn't that someone you listened to back then, or?
Yes, I absolutely adore what Walter Carlos did for Stanley Kubrick, Clockwork Orange. I think it's a masterpiece. And also it's interesting because talking about that, it's you know, Walter Carlos, during the composition of the soundtrack of Clockwork Orange, became a woman. And he became Wendy Carlos. And what's interesting is the sound themselves. It's like they are in kind of deliquescence, like in kind of mutation. And it's obviously probably due to his or her own faith. And it's very it's linked with technologies, it's very interesting and catching piece of music, and it has been of a great influence. But my influences are more on a visual point of view. Talking about Stanley Kubrick, a movie like 2001 and Arthur C. Clarke work that passed. Actually, he passed away a few days ago. And he was a good friend of mine, the writer of 2001: Space Odyssey. I mean, those works, influenced me a lot on a musical point of view.
Yeah. I have a question about that. Your music is very cinematic, and do you think in pictures when you create more, or how do you catch your?
Yes, but in an abstract way. I used to do a lot of abstract paintings, and I even hesitated at one stage between music and abstract painting. And with electronic music, I found the ideal hybrid, because for me, electronic music is like painting. I mean, you are mixing frequencies like you are mixing colors and textures. It's exactly the same thing. And you will see on stage, I'm actually inviting the people in my atelier or in my kitchen, because also electronic music is very close to cooking. You know, I'm from Lyon in France, where it's a city was very renowned for good cooking.
And good food, I know.
Good food, and doing electronic music is like cooking frequencies and sounds and in front of your oven.
Yeah.
Actually, a DJ is like in an oven cooking frequencies, in a sense, you know.
You gotta have the right recipe, though.
That's right, exactly. That's the main thing.
I know one of your musicians here, a friend of yours, said that you are a poetic composer. He calls you, I think. Isn't that so?
Yeah, that's very nice of him. I know that he's in the making of the DVD. He said that, and because sometimes when I want to explain something to a musician, I'm more. I think it's more interesting instead of saying, okay, play G or C minor. Say, let's think about what could be the sound of the moon, or think about I don't know, an eagle having a wing problem and going down, all these kind of crazy images, and then suddenly it creates something else on an emotional point of view that the musician then is going to play in a different way, rather than just delivering the tunes and the chords, but playing something with something in mind that is different. I like that very much in a musical approach.
Now, I know that you are classically trained as well.
Yes.
How had that helped you, or did you throw that overboard when you started creating this music?
No, I think you can never get rid of your education, and I think in Oxygene, for instance, you have a kind of classical form from time to time, and actually when we are playing it, we are using less now on the tour because we know things by heart, but at the beginning we were using scores like classical scores for some parts that have no beats, and so it's a real mixture. I mean, I think that I've been really influenced by classical music, but also by rock and pop music, and Oxygene was really an attempt to try to create a bridge between experimental music and pop music, to inject a bit of melodies and fun also, and simplicity to experimental music.
Yeah. And must say some words about your father, a great composer as well.
Yes.
He influenced you a lot as well, or he inspired you? Or?
I really love his work I think he's one of the most original soundtrack composers. But unfortunately, I've not been influenced by him because my parents split up when I was 5 years old, and he went to America, and I really didn't grow up at all with him. So it maybe worked on the level of chromosomes, but not on direct influence.
Not on that. Okay, I see. Some words about this album, a fantastic album you did also, the China experience.
Yes.
How was it? You were one of the first from the West to come and play there? Or
actually, I've been the first artist, non-Chinese artist, to play in China just after the Mao's time. And I went, and it was absolutely amazing. It was like playing on the moon or playing on Mars, because these people had no ideas about what happened in the West for 25 years. They didn't know the Beatles, they didn't know, I don't know, Charles Chaplin or Marilyn Monroe or Mickey Mouse or Kennedy or whatever. So it was really, because the kind of concert I was doing was quite different and new, even on a Western point of view. So on a Chinese ex-Mao times point of view, it was really something incredible. And then, because of that, I think the film of the concert has been shown on TV maybe 400 times, because they had nothing else, basically. So coming from the West. So I know that my music and myself, became quite notorious and quite popular in China because of that. And then I went back to China 2 years ago. And I did a big concert at the Forbidden City and on Tiananmen Square. And it was quite an interesting experience. It was for the opening of the French Cultural Year in China. And before accepting, I asked Chinese intellectuals and Chinese artists if it was a good thing to play in Beijing, and particularly on Tiananmen Square. And they all said, yes, you have to do it, because that's going to help us. Because you are known in China, you are known in China and not Chinese, and that could help us to go back as artists to the center of Beijing. So I did it, and I remember that I pronounced the 3 words, the French motto, liberté, égalité, fraternité, what is the French motto of the French Revolution. That actually was the motto of the Students' Revolution in 1989 on Tiananmen Square, in Chinese. So I did that in Chinese. That was a clear message of that we should not forget what's going on in China. And it's the reason why I think it's very important to go in those countries when you have problems. And I'm absolutely against boycotts, any kinds of boycotts.
Because that's my next question. What do you think about it now? They talk a lot about the Olympics.
Yeah, I think you have to go there, because, you know, if on top of it's not because in a country you have leaders that are not following the rules of democracy, that on top of it you have to punish the people by not giving them cinema, music, paintings, culture. You have to go there, and it's also with I mean, holding hands and trying to try to change, not to avoid to being manipulated, but say what you have to say. And I think it's it's always much better to communicate rather than say no, thank you, until you change. Because this country is not going to change like that. I mean, when you have 1.5 billion people in the country, it's like driving a huge truck, you know, a truck with lots of loads. Yeah. So it's something that it's a slow process. But I think you have to go to China for doing a concert, but you have to go to Tibet also to go to do a concert. You know, it's the kind of thing I'm really into that state of mind. I think it would be a big mistake to boycott.
So what Sarkozy says is wrong, you think, about boycotting the
I wouldn't say that. I think it's quite courageous for a statesman to say we may boycott if you don't do that. But by the end of the day, not doing it, maybe. But I think it's quite courageous for a statesman to say, okay, there is a problem, and why, if we were boycotting, you know, that's thing, because that's as a politician is something else. But I'm not a politician. I'm an artist, so that's something else.
And you are, of course, loved in China. That's you.
I love China. I love Chinese people. They are like, for me, they're like the Italian of the East. Actually, they invented pasta before the Italians, and it's Marco Polo that stole the concept. and actually, they also even talking with hands. They're very funny. I love Chinese people, really, and I hope that I will go back soon there.
So, my question, maybe you can short answer. Can music be used as a political weapon, and should it be?
Sorry?
Can music be used as a political weapon, and should it be, you think?
I would say as a political tool rather than weapon. Weapon is a bit warrior, is a bit too aggressive. But I think that actually what makes the difference between music and politics, and is the reason why that musicians doing too much politics or being too dogmatic about it, I'm quite cautious about that, particularly when it's close to a release of the new album or a new movie. So I'm a bit cautious about that. But having said that, I think that you can say a lot through music on an emotional way. You can open doors. You can open minded. You can open minds, and that is politics in the Greek sense of the word, more than on the politician side. And I think that in that aspect, music can be very strong. You know, a piece of music like that. Name, as my mom said, why hell are you calling your music by the name of a gas? And actually, but this symbol, I mean, said a lot, and this image also, and the music. I mean, you didn't say anything that you shouldn't do this, you should do that, but more in terms of an awakening of consciousness. And in that direction, I think music is very important.
Yeah. Something totally different. What's your relation to your contemporary French artists like Sébastien Tellier, very popular in Sweden as well, and Daft Punk and Air, of course? Are they like? They love your music, of course, or? Actually,
you know, it's NME, the British magazine, who said that there is necessarily a bit of oxygen in air. And obviously there is a kind of bridge, and I really love all the brilliant French artists we have in France, such as Air and Daft Punk, and today Sébastien Tellier. Lots of people are saying that there is some direct influences from my work, but I mean, I wouldn't comment on that. I mean, everybody is influenced by everybody. It doesn't mean anything. Everybody has its original talent and specificity. I mean, are great artists like Daft Punk and Sébastien Tellier. They have their own original world, and maybe they can take a little bit from my world or from I don't know, from any other artist as well, like I'm doing. I mean, we are all sponges by taking all what we can grab all over.
Yeah, I know you were a good friend of course, Robert Moog, wasn't it so?
Yes,
yeah.
That's right.
And he was genius of.
He was absolute genius. You know, he was he built the equivalent of helicopter in aeronautics. You know, something totally unpredictable, not reasonable, irrational. This big, it looked like NASA Space Center, the big modular, but actually it changed entirely. He revolutionized the way of doing music, because before we were doing music with chords and notes, and after Moog and after Pierre Schaeffer, also my master in France, who invented the musique-concrète and the real father of music, electroacoustic music, those people said very simple things, that music is not made only of notes and chords, but made of sounds. And the difference between a noise and a musical sound is the hand of the musician. And today, it's classic, traditional to do music by involving, I don't know, the sound of the train, the sound of the rain, the sound of the armchair or whatever, and making a beat with it. And you know, it's now a normal way of doing music. These guys invented the concept. They explore virgin territories, and I feel very privileged to have been at the beginning of that exploration. Because you know, when you are starting and opening a door, you are full of innocence. It's the reason why that the rock of the 60s and 70s, electronic music of the 70s are very special, because nothing existed behind. It's not the fact that it's better or worse, but a young band today is very old, because he has 40 or 50 years of rock and roll or electronic music behind him or her, and that's a weight, and it's obviously more difficult, but obviously there are lots of other new territories and virgin territories to explore for young artists. So it's a cycle, all this.
What's your relation to the German colleagues, Kraftwerk?
We met from time to time, and we even tried to. I tried to work with them, but they are quite special. They follow their work, and by recycling the work of the past. But they are great artists. I really love them. But you know, it's interesting, because we are absolutely at the opposite. You know, Oxygene is a kind of anti-Kraftwerk work, where and I'm saying that not in a negative way, but in a positive way. Kraftwerk, and they did that brilliantly. As a concept, they considered electronic music as robotic, dehumanized, cold, and they provided all kind of interesting stuff based on that concept. I was absolutely at the opposite, by thinking that electronic music is not cold, is not robotic, is not dehumanized, is actually the reverse, can be sensual and organic and warm, and even warmer than the fact of writing music on a piece of paper with a pen, what is a very intellectual way of doing music afterwards. And you think about music, and you're writing strange signs, notes and things, and expecting that someday is going to read some people are going to read that and play your music. With electronic music, I mean, as I said, it's like cooking. So it's something very sensual, organic. But I suppose it's maybe the difference between the Latin way of thinking things and the Anglo-Saxon.
Has it anything to do with your French? And they are German.
Yeah, but you know, beyond that, I think electronic music, if we have fairly important artists in Germany and in France, is actually because pop music or rock music has been really and is ethnic music of England and America that became universal because of the explosion of recording processes and records and singles and all that. But electronic music is based on the tradition of instrumental music, then classical music. And classical music, we know classical music in Germany and France and Italy. much more than England or America. And it's the reason why that we have so many, I think, artists quite important in electronic music coming from our countries, because it's a part of the tradition of instrumental music and thinking in long terms and thinking in long forms rather than a song of 3 minutes. And it's the reason why that we are quite influential in this in our countries in this and like Sweden, like Scandinavia as well. It's the same thing. Scandinavia also has a classical training and background also with great musicians, probably obviously more than America. And then is the reason why that Scandinavia, Germany, France, I mean, we have all this continental Europe have probably a more a tradition in instrumental music.
Yeah. Just one question more. It's your show here in Stockholm is sold out since a long time. Is it because of its timeless music, would you say, or how would you?
I don't know. You should ask the people. I have no idea, but I feel very privileged. I feel very honored to be in that situation in Sweden. It's a country I really like on a cultural point of view, and the light for me influenced me a lot. Actually, to tell you the truth, I was supposed to go to Hamburg tomorrow, and I said no. I'm going to delay of one more day because I really want to enjoy. Stockholm. It's very inspiring for me. The lights, the colors are very inspiring, and the way I mean, the life here is something that is your approach to environment. I mean, has been of obviously with Oxygen and Equinox and all what I've done for United Nations and UNESCO. I'm ambassador of UNESCO, fairly involved in environmental issues. I mean, for me, countries such as Sweden has been, and Denmark also have been of lots of influence for me and lots of inspiration.
Are you painting now again, or?
Not anymore at the moment. I'm more doing photos and things with digital and videos than painting. But I regret it, and I really would like to go back to that one day. But it's a matter of time. You know, for instance, I have this blog I was starting to do at the beginning of the tour, and you know, it's just doing a blog every day. It's a crazy amount of work. I mean, at 2 o'clock in the morning, you have to on your computer to write what you've done and all that, and every day. And people are saying, yes, but you know, you have to do it every day, and they don't realize you don't sleep anymore. You know, so unfortunately, it's a lack of time. But I really would like to do that. At one stage, where I remember with Charlotte Rampling, my former wife, we decided because she's painting as well, and we were deciding to every year between Christmas and New Year's Eve to stay at home and to take this week to paint. And we did that for a few years, and it worked quite well actually. But now we changed life, and I'm not available between Christmas and New Year's Eve anymore. So I'm not painting anymore.
You're not painting anymore. I know you said yourself about Charlotte. Now you live together with Amparo, is it so? So how is your life nowadays with
No, here certainly more as Nikita.
Nikita, of course, yeah.
And but it's not as violent as in the movie. Our day-to-day life. Okay. I can reassure everybody.
But how is your life today? Is it? Can you be alone with her and have your? Or are you?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, the good thing with artists, we understand each other in terms of schedules, and also we can't be bored of each other, because actually she's doing movies, I'm touring, and we are not seeing us every day, what is not necessarily a good thing, but you know, we have obviously a day-to-day life quite diversified, quite varied, and I think it's an enrichment for to live with another artist. It's difficult, but it's certainly something that what I like. I mean, so far.
So, last question: the future now? Are you going to digitalize Equinox and keep on Zuluk and all the other works? And
I don't know. I wouldn't because I didn't do that with nostalgia, and I wouldn't like to become a kind of archivist of myself. So,
but there's a new generation out there that want to see or hear your work.
Yeah, that gave me the desire maybe to conceive a project based on the early work, to explore that art form, in a sense, that I discovered by doing putting Oxygen on stage, but also have also projects of writing new music, but certainly using also these analog instruments. Because it's funny, because when you see the digital instruments on computers, synthesizers, they are actually emulation and imitation of these old analog instruments, even reproducing the facades of the instruments on the computer. And in a rather awkward way, you have to move the knobs with the mouse. So why not using the real ones? And it's what I'm going to do for the next project, for the next studio album.
Okay, so there's a new studio album.
Yeah, on the way, actually.
On the way.
And I had always this fantasy, and because, you know, I did lots of concerts in my life, but very special projects, outdoor projects, and they've been produced a little bit like you're producing a movie, and not touring that much like lots of other artists. It's a tour that I'm not doing tours every year, and I always had that fantasy of starting to do an album in the bus. So actually, I was supposed to use the plane much more between cities, and I said no, I would like to use the bus from Stockholm, not Stockholm, but Hamburg to Berlin, and then in Spain and all that. So with the band, being able to start to conceive some tracks and demos and things, and see what it goes, and then going back to in studio in May and June, and to finish maybe an album like that with the dynamic of the road and the tour.
That could be interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Big thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could I take a couple more pictures when you just...
Sure.